To truly reveal this history, we must look through the eyes of those at the bottom of the hierarchy. For millions, the invention of Hinduism wasn't just a label, it was the disappearance of their own ancient identities. Before the census, millions of indigenous and untouchable communities practiced spiritualities entirely distinct from Brahminical texts. They weren't Hindu in their own eyes. They were followers of their own local, often earth-centered traditions. When the British arrived, they needed a majority to govern. Using a Western lens, they folded every community that wasn't Muslim or Christian into a single, massive folder labeled Hindu, regardless of their own self-identification. The British defined this new Hinduism by the standards of a small Brahmin elite. Thousands of diverse local practices were suddenly labeled corrupt or low-caste variations of a singular high-caste religion. The 1871 census was the tool of erasure. For the first time, people who had never heard of the Vedas or the Manusmriti were legally and administratively stripped of their distinct identity and counted as Hindu majority. The proof of this forced categorization came in 1910. Commissioner Edward Gate proposed 10 tests to see who was a genuine Hindu. The results were a shock to the colonial project. Gate admitted that by Brahminical standards, millions of untouchables were not really Hindu. They were excluded from temples, denied priests, and forbidden from studying the very texts that defined the religion. This admission sparked a political panic. If these communities weren't Hindu, the upper caste majority would collapse. The untouchables were needed, not for their faith, but for their numbers. The fear of a dying race was an upper caste fear. Pamphlets like UN Mukherjee's used census data to argue that Hindus were declining, fueling the move to keep untouchables within the fold at any cost. Local deities and ancient spirits were systematically Hinduized. Ancient, localized spiritualities were swallowed up and rebranded as lower branches of a unified Hindu tree just to maintain the political majority. But the marginalized didn't stay silent. Leaders like Jyotirao Phule and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar began to expose this forced categorization, fighting to reclaim a distinct identity outside the Hindu folder. The majority we see today was built on the administrative erasure of millions of unique identities. A political creation designed to serve power, not people. This struggle eventually forced the British to recognize the scheduled castes as a distinct political interest, a final admission that the Hindu folder was never a perfect fit. Today, the legacy of this forced majority continues to shape the power dynamics of India. The hidden history reveals that what we call a religion was often a tool of administrative and political control. To know the truth about the past is the first step in reclaiming a future. For the millions who were folded into a category not their own, the secret history is finally coming to light.